Zach, thank you for joining me today on Pop Culture Unplugged to talk about your latest project, Geek Girl, premiering in a few days.
Yes, great to be here. Thanks.
Exciting times, my friend. First of all, you before you went on the air, you talked about the screening and everything. Tell us a little about the screening and how was your night?
I I got there very late, so I only actually managed to catch the most of the last episode that we saw, but it looked wonderful and it was really great. Seeing some of the members of the cast I hadn't seen in a long time, seeing one of the members of the crew, and that was when it kind of properly became whenever you're making this kind of stuff, you're kind of in a production bubble, and there's a part of you that just kind of thinks, no matter how big of a project it is, no one's ever going to see this. This is never going to come out. Like, this is like something that's just going to be shared between us. But that was when it became real that it was actually a thing that we were going to show everyone. And it's exciting.
Amazing. So we're gonna jump into the show in a little bit more, but let's get to know a little bit more about Zach and everything. Like your acting journey. What inspired you to get into this? What pushed you?
Ooh. Um, I don't know if there was any one thing. Um, I think I remember just doing school plays when I was younger, and from there it just kind of, I don't know when it kind of cemented itself in my head as what I was just always going to do, but at some point it did. I feel like there should be some kind of dramatic, fun, kind of interesting anecdote where I'm just like, yes, and then I stood on stage at the Globe and I was like, this is my calling, but nothing like that happened. I just I've just been lucky enough to have been able to do it in some form or another my whole life, and just, well, yeah, I'm very lucky in that respect.
Right. And here we are today. Was the goal always like TV and film when you first started? Like, because I saw you've done a little theater also.
I I'd love to do more theatre, especially since when you're doing screen stuff, it always feels there's always a part of you that feels a little bit rushed. Like,
Mm.
you can never, like, you rarely get rehearsals, and you always feel like there's another question that you could have asked or something else that you could have explored, and you go and you do it once and that's it. Whereas when you're doing theatre, you have weeks of rehearsals and then you're just doing it again and again and again and again. And so you never really you never really feel like it's over in the way that you do with film. And then once it goes into an editor's hands, it's completely out of your control and you just have to step away from it. But I think being able to just exist naturally on screen, especially now when so much stuff is getting made and there are so many more opportunities, I think I've always loved movies and TV, just outside of acting generally. And so it wasn't always the plan, but really love to do it.
Maybe. Does Zach have a dream role someday that you want to conquer, put it on your list of things you've done?
I'd love to do Richard III. Such a fun part.
That's awesome. So let's jump into Geek Girl now. I know, like
Sure.
we're a few days away from Geek Girl. We see you as Toby. Tell us what about the audition process. Did you originally go in for this character?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. From the beginning, I was going for Toby, and I my audition process was quite short. I think I had one self tape and then one audition in the room, and that was that. I think Liam, who plays Nick Park on the show, he had to do like six, and he was like doing like he was flying around places or something. I don't know, but like, yeah, and I was always going for Toby as well. When I read the character description for him, there was just something that there was something about his voice in the sides that I was reading, and just something that I can't still quite put my finger on that just kind of drew me to him. And so, that was always the part for me in the show, I guess.
Mm.
What's the sister? I don't know.
What drew you to this character? How did you connect with the character?
I think he has a kind of awkward irreverence to him, and there's something about him that's peaceful and calm, which I really like, and sometimes it's a struggle to find. And he's okay with himself in a way that's interesting to explore. Since sometimes when you're like feel like sometimes when you're acting, you're just like, oh God, I just want this character that's in pain and he's kind of, on the edge of being morally bankrupt and got so much complex stuff going on. And that's kind of fun to look at. But when someone's kind of at peace with themselves in the way that Toby is at such a young age, it opens up, it opens something different. I'm not quite sure how to put it. And so that was part of what drew me to him. And I think I found his voice kind of very easy to slip into and connect with as well.
How many times did you read the description of Toby and you're like, like try to narrow it down, like, okay, you want to play him a certain way, or did you bounce ideas off the director also, like how to bring this character to life?
I was initially when I read the description, and another thing was I had a couple of touchstone scenes from the book by Holly Smale, which I would go back to, which really provided the essence of what I was going for to me. But mostly I had quite a bit of freedom with my interpretation of the character for the show, which was really great. And I I found a lot of the rhythm in the performance and how Toby interacts with the people around him. Probably most with Shell and Emily, who play Nat and Harriet on the show, but also with the Olives, like finding his dynamic with them and finding kind of how he fits into his own kind of little world was one thing, and also figuring out what he connects to just within himself was really important, and that kind of comes out in the final performance that he gives at the end of the show. But I am I forgetting what the question was? I think I might have. Sorry, could you tell me again? I've just kind of meandered out of.
So like did you bounce any ideas also like out the director and everything, like how you wanted to bring this character to life?
Right. Mostly, as I say, mostly I really appreciate how much I was trusted with
Okay.
the choices that I was able to make. There was one time it was coming to the end of the shoot, and the director kind of wanders over to me, and he just hands me a femur from like a fake skeleton, like a classroom
Okay.
skeleton, and he just says to me like, I don't know what it was, like I just found this somewhere and I wondered if maybe you could just create some chaos somewhere in the background of the shot. And that was kind of prompts that I was often given, just kind of like, oh, do something. And then I would do something that was kind of like, you know what, I'll do it, and then maybe they'll get me to dial it back a little bit. But then nobody ever did, which was which was really fun to play. And so I just kind of got successfully bigger and bigger, just like, no, is anyone going to stop me? Oh, they're not. Brilliant, amazing, yes, more of
That's
that.
awesome. You mentioned the books. How accurate is the character now that you're portraying on screen to the books, or did anything change about him? Any idea?
I think the version that I've found is, first of all, he's not so much Harriet Stalker in the show. He's her kind of next door neighbor and friend who's just constantly trying to look out for her and keep an eye on her. But also, I think there's a lot of room in the book to kind of there's a lot of room to play, and I think a lot of another place where I really found the character was in my costume fitting with our excellent costume designer Lucia, and finding that he has a ritual in how he dresses, which really connected me to the character, which is kind of something new, which we brought. How everything that he's thinking about every single part of how he's dressing, except for what he looks like, if that makes sense. He's kind of making sure his pocket watch is properly adjusted, and he's kind of making sure his sleeves are sitting correctly, but also he might just kind of really slapdash to his tie and just kind of have it go all over the place, because that's not really what he's thinking about when he's dressing himself. It's about the ritual, it's about how he feels rather than how he looks. And that was interesting to explore as a new element.
You mentioned Harriet. How did you and Emily like develop the on-screen chemistry between these two characters for your scenes?
I mean, I mean, chemistry is a weird thing. You hear actors talking about it, and sometimes there's another opinion that there just has to be something that's sort of there, that's indefinable and that you can't rehearse. But then also at the same time, it's just kind of it's part of the gig that you like to think that you could have that kind of chemistry with everyone. But I get along really well with Emily, despite the fact that they're just an awful, awful person. We get on very well. Thing is, when nobody laughs at that, that really just makes it sound like they're just kind of awful. They're not. They're lovely. But like, yeah. Anyway, and you always end up spending so much time with people when you're doing stuff like this because so much of your day is just kind of waiting around and trying to kind of stay in the moment enough such that when you actually get in front of camera, it feels right. And Emily, as a scene partner, is incredibly easy to listen to, I found, and that's so much of it, at least for me. And so Emily was wonderful to work with.
Amazing. The books have a huge following now that those the following is going to tune in to view this series. What are you hoping to get out of this series?
I think one of the things that I hope people get out of the series is one of the things that kind of Toby represents in Harriet's world, which is a sense of kind of self-acceptance, and in this kind of journey towards exploring new things about yourself and becoming okay with yourself, he kind of serves as a bit of an example, but also as a kind of narrative reflection of Harriet. And so I hope somebody watches it and feels less alone in being confused and unsure of themselves or just geeky.
Really? What are you hoping for to remember about Toby, the viewers?
I'm hoping waistcoats really just bloom fashion wise, because I think every single costume I wear has a waistcoat of some sort in it. But I also hope that I don't know. That's something that especially as Toby, I never really thought about too much. I think Toby's never really thinking about what other people are thinking of him when he's just kind of existing in his own world. And so I suppose I didn't really think about what people would take from Toby too much. Again, I think I hope for the same, that people kind of see a bit of themselves in him.
Amazing. How many episodes are we expecting for season 1?
10 episodes.
10 episodes. And do you think it's going to be like one of those things where like a lot of people are just going to tune in and try to watch it right after the other? You think you're going to spread out? What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's a very bingeable show. I mean, especially because the episodes are quite short and a lot of it has like this really like great fast pace to it. And in a lot of ways, I'm kind of lucky I was late to the screening, because I know that I would have sat down for the first episode and then I would have just been like, okay, when's the next one? And they stopped at showing 3 and I was like, let's see the rest. But yeah, it's a very bingeable show. So I think people will just watch it all at once.
Amazing. Zach, what's next for you now? Any other projects you're allowed to tell us about or tease about coming up for you?
I don't think anything I can talk about at the moment. No.
Amazing. Zach, I want to thank you for giving me a few minutes today. This was great. Hopefully we see season 2. We get you back on. We continue the story of Toby.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.